So hello and welcome to Handmade Oxford, the interactive virtual craft fair, taking place from Wednesday the 15th to Sunday the 19th of September. Now, the Handmade online is a great way to watch exhibitor-led live sessions, to see our daily auction pieces, to view demonstration videos, and to purchase direct from our exhibitors throughout the event. And you can do that all over on interact.handmadeinbritain.co.uk. So my name is Alice and I am a part of the Handmade in Britain team, and it gives me great pleasure that this afternoon we'll be talking to Dani Crompton, and the title is going to be Pebbles and her new jewellery collection, which she'll be showcasing. Now, Dani is the creator of unique contemporary handmade jewellery, and she's going to be unveiling her latest collection entitled Pebbles. Now, we're going to be exploring Dani's gorgeous new pieces, and we're going to discover the inspiration and the techniques behind her collection. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Dani to us. So Dani, it's wonderful to see you this afternoon. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Great, great. Well, it's lovely to be in the studio with you. Now, for people that are joining us who aren't aware of you and your work, what's a little bit about yourself and about the collections, how did we get to you producing jewelry as you're doing now?
Hi, well, I've been making jewelry for over 20 years now. I did a degree in jewelry design in London, and over the years my work has really progressed. I've gone quite geometric and quite mathematical, and now I've really found a love of organic forms, and I express my love of nature through my jewelry. I'm very into my animals and spend a lot of time in the countryside with them, looking around me, taking photos of trees and anything I can find, and molds and fungi, and collecting small pieces. And then I use their colours, their textures in my work, not necessarily to make a kind of exact replica of them. It's more hints of them to bring an idea of a place, a smell of a season, the colours of a woodland. So it's not exact replication of nature, it's just the bits that I really love. So my main work at the moment is called Nature's Way, and within this collection, which I've been working on for about 3, possibly coming up to 4 years now, I do small groups, and at the moment I have a love of pebbles. So when I do something new, I tend to start with one really big piece. So I'm not sure you can see it beautifully here, but I am modeling the main piece that has started this collection. These are all 3-dimensional, as you can see if I just lift it up there. The colours I've taken from water, and I call it my bubble necklace. So hopefully when you see it or feel it or wear it, it will make you think of bubbling streams or the white water in the sea. And yeah, that's kind of it. So I've kind of mixed my materials together. So essentially my main materials are glass beads, very tiny little glass beads, and silver. There we go. But in this piece, I've also added some resin, like little pools of reflective resin there. And on the neck chain, I've got Swarovski pearls and some threads in silver and white, because I wanted to keep the neck chain as part of the necklace soft and flowing and showing the same pebbly bits as in there. So once I've made my main piece, and this one took a while, it went to the side, it came back. I then break down the elements of it, and I've made some more pieces that relate to it to make the collection. So I'll start by showing you some of the earrings. So I'm just going to put up a white sheet so you can actually see the jewellery a little bit clearer than you can this necklace. There we go. Not working very well there. Okay. If you can't see the pieces, there are photos of them all on my page, really detailed photos. So I've got, those were some aqua greens. Here I've got some blues. And here I wanted to go a little bit autumnal. So I've gone with the yellows and the ambers. Let's try the sheet again. Oh, there we go. But this one makes me think of honeycombs, little burnt honey droplets. So they're about 5 centimeters long. So they are a long earring, but they're not so long that they get in your way or flap. And they're also very lightweight to wear because of the method I use to make them, which I'm going to let you in on in a minute. I have also created for the Pebbles collection a new ring, which I will place on my finger here. There we are. And this one I've used dark teals and blacks and highlighted with yellows and turquoise. So all my jewelry is very three-dimensional. You don't just view your ring from the top of your finger. It has an interesting image from the side, from the back, from the other side, from the top. And this one, oh, a little bit small for me. This one is a K size, but it has an open spiral shank, so it can be altered slightly if you want it a little bit bigger or a little bit smaller. There we go. And then I also have some necklaces, but they're a lot smaller than this one. So I've gone for single pebbles, and each necklace is completely different because each pebble is totally different shape and size. There we are. So here's my red on a very nice thin silver chain. I'm going to try the white sheet again. So here we go. Ooh. You see that? It's a bit dark. Oh, not sure. Okay, so this one's in reds and blacks with some greys. I've also got a rather lovely one, which is a totally different shape and so almost hangs horizontally in blacks and greys. There we are. Right, so what I thought I'd do today is give you a quick look at the process that I use to make these. So every single pebble, although it's completely different each time, is made from the same hoop of silver wire. It's about 3 mil wide. With that, I use either a rolling mill, which I have here in my studio at home, which is like a giant pasta maker really, but it's got super strong hinges, so you can roll your metal through and it squeezes it flat and changes the shape. Or I use hammers on a steel plate or anvil. So every time you're doing it, you're leaving different marks and you're squeezing the metal in a slightly different way. So your resulting pebble is going to be completely unique, which is a piece of my design ethos. I don't make anything twice. Everything has its own place and everything is specific to the person who buys it. So this hoop, I'll just show you one that I have hammered without the beading on, will end up totally different shape. This one I've turned it, so I've got thick sides and thin sides, and due to my love of texture, I've also textured the edge. I do live by the rule that there is never enough texture. If in doubt, add more texture. So once I've got my silver hoop, I need to add my beads. So that can only be done by adding another medium in, which is what I discovered a few years ago and essentially created my Nature's Way jewelry that I make now. I use wool. So this is wool roving. It comes in loads of colors, amazing colors. And it's what they use for felt work. So when you see felted artwork, felted clothing, felted dolls. So it's pure wool. And the quality of wool is that it has little barbs on it, tiny little barbs. So when you either needle felt it or roll it in your hands with soap water, which is what I do for the pebbles, all the little barbs catch into each other and lock, and then it keeps its form. So you take a piece of this, little squirt of soap water, roll, 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 and you'll end up with a lovely firm-ish wool Pebble, hence the name of the collection. Now, this one doesn't fit exactly, but if you imagine, I then pop that felt inside my silver hoop. So then I have a medium on which I can put my beads. So with all the colours, it's very important to choose your correct colour. So your wool and your beads and your thread need to be really close in colour, because then everything blends together seamlessly. You don't want to have a bit of white wool suddenly shining out. So the beads I use are tiny. They're about, this is a bag of thousands of them. They're about 1 millimeter in size. So they're incy. And then I also use a few larger kind of drop beads to add a bit of depth to the work, a bit of reflection. Now, a lot of jewelers really plan their work in advance. They'll draw it, they'll measure it, they'll sort it all out beforehand. I personally like the process to design the end result. So other than knowing I want to do a blue one, I don't know how that's going to turn out. So I go through all my blue beads, a bit like a kid in a sweetie shop, and I get out a selection, maybe 4, 5, 6 different colours and bead shapes, and I lay them out on my beading tray, which is a bit like a artist's easel with their paint. And then I just go for it. I put in my first bead and I build it up from there. I see what's happening. I decide maybe some colour needs a highlight behind it to make it zing a bit more. And I just let the process go through, like either doing a tapestry, a freehand tapestry, or painting a picture. So the joy of that is that I'm as surprised by the end result as everybody else is, which makes every piece a joy to make. So this is one I'm making at the moment, which was my blues. And I've started with a very deep navy, gone through a cobalt and up to a sapphire. And you also have to notice that with my work, the back is as beautiful as the front. So especially with the earrings, where I truly feel that when you wear a pair of earrings, people walking behind you need to see what you're wearing as much. So the earrings, I just give it a little spin there, are fully beaded all the way around. And this means they can flip and sway and swing, and you're always showing your best side. So with the necklaces, once I've made my pebble and I've beaded it, I then attach a nice quality sterling silver chain. And for those of you who, like me, maybe find bolt clips that little bit too fiddly to deal with, where have we got one? Here we are. I've started to use in my work a little handmade S clip. So you can just slide the hoop on and off either side, making putting your jewellery on so much easier. So also with the handmade clip that goes with your necklace, when you wear your earrings, I felt using like commercial ready-made earring wires, that they just stuck out because the piece hanging off them is handmade and original and very organic. So I've developed a way of making my own earring wires. I like them to be quite voluptuous and round, and I use I spiral them into a spring to give them stability and wrap them onto the earring. So every millimeter of your piece of jewelry is completely unique. And who is it? Yeah, I think I've told you pretty much everything I can at the minute. So if Alice has got anything she wants to ask, or...
Yeah, I feel you've gone through a really great kind of summary of everything. I think when I look at your work, I think I don't appreciate how 3D it actually is.
Yeah.
So now it feels like I've had like a little hidden secret on how you've done it. But it's beautiful, and kind of, I didn't know, so you're using obviously lots of different beads, but I didn't know that my pronunciation here is going to be awful, Swarovski did pearls.
Well, they call them Swarovski pearls, and they're like little beads. What they are is essentially they're the same as a synthetic pearl, but because they're Swarovski, they're high quality. So, you know, sometimes you get things and the color coating will come off. and you end up with just a plain plasticky bead underneath. These are kind of the best you can get.
Oh, I love it. I really didn't know they could do it, but it's so lovely that you've actually not just left, you know, your kind of main piece there. You've actually taken it up the neckline.
Yeah, well,
And I
this
think
piece
that's
took quite a journey, really, because I started with this element and I made these 4. And then partway through, as is my habit, I discovered a new material. And I started thinking, oh, I need to add that in, because I love mixing materials together in the one piece. So I went for a couple of weeks and ahhing of whether or not to put a large koi fish underneath.
Oh, wow.
One day I loved it, the next day I didn't, and I did, then I didn't, then I did, then I didn't. And then in the end, I was like, no, don't rush it. Leave the other material, get to know it better. That's for another day. And then it was, as you say, how to hang a statement piece. You can't just pop it on a plain chain. You know, it needs to be finished. And I was finding that quite difficult with this piece. And at one point, I almost mounted this section in a silver frame, because I also do beaded framed images, little display pieces. And then I thought, no, I've done too much of this. It needs to be what it was originally going to be. And then I nearly made it into a brooch, because then it didn't need to have a neck. And I didn't like that either. And then one day, it was usually about 3 o'clock in the morning, I went, ta-da, got out all the things I had, put it together. And yay, I got there in the end.
No, it's great. It's great. Kind of within the collection, you've also got different colours, and we were looking at the autumnal colours there. So when we were looking at it, we could see those yellow hues, those orange hues.
Yeah, it's kind of like got yellow, creamy yellows, a lovely amber, and then these large ones are kind of almost like a dark brown amber. And I don't know, when I look at it, I just imagine a really full, juicy honeycomb where the honey's just dripping out.
Have we got different size beading there?
Yes, so you've got the tiny beads, which I showed you earlier, which are like about 1 mil or a tiny bit smaller. And then these large, they're like drops. So round at the top, down to narrow in 3 dimensions. And the hole is in the narrow end. So when you bead them on, they're like little bubbles.
No, I can see the bubbles there.
Yeah. So I thought that just gives these pieces that extra 3-dimensionality. I mean, there are more in some, less in others. You know, like I say, each piece kind of leads its own journey. And depending on the colours or the shape that's come out in the pebble, I will use more or less of the bigger beads, or more or less colours of one shade in an item. I mean, with these blues, I wanted them to look. Oh,
is it more of a balance? Like kind of looking at them.
Pardon?
More of like a balance when you're doing kind of the sizing, and then the balance of the beads.
It's very much finding a comfortable place where the colours, the sizes, and everything just marry together. So I'm not doing a specific picture that needs to look exactly like a specific flower. I mean, I'm sure it's different for everybody, but I just want everything to blend in. I wanted this to look like everything was floating upwards, like weeds on the bottom of a riverbed, just floating upwards. And then the little bubbles, the larger beads, were just like the little bubbles coming up to the surface. So yeah, it is very much marrying. And then on a piece like the ring, where I've actually got quite a few different colors in here, I say that there's like a mustard yellow, a black, a moss green, a turquoise, a dark green, the clear beads. So there's quite a lot going in there, but they've all got their place and they all sit and show off their neighbor to a way. So yeah, it's a journey that I've always loved colour. I've always been interested in colour, and I never believe the rules people have, you know, red and green should never be seen, that sort of thing. If you like it and it works in your mind, give it a go.
I think colour is so joyous. I think, with your collection, it is, it's the colour, but when you actually see the colour and go deeper, it's in the 3D. It's then the
Yeah.
layers that you have for it. I mean, I'm going to ask. I'm sure you've been asked it 1,000 times, but how long does a piece take to create? I mean, and is a piece ever finished?
Um, yeah, I mean, something like this takes a very long time, because what I can do the metal work quite quickly, but when I come to the beading, literally you can only put one bead on at a time. So every single bead on the front and the back of these 5 pebbles have all got to be individually picked up, sewn through. And the more I sew through, the denser the wool becomes. So by the end, I'm actually having to use pliers to put the needle in, push it through and pull it out the other side. So at the beginning, it's quite soft and gentle. And then you realize you've got holes in your thumb, so you get your pliers out. As for when it's finished, you can't, just out of shot here, I have my mighty magnifying light. So it's like a ring light with a magnifier in the middle. And I get to the point where to the naked eye, it looks finished. You can't see any gaps. But then I put it underneath the magnifying glass and I see those little holes and they have to be filled. So my theory is, if it's completely packed under the magnifying glass, then on daily life, you're never going to see a flaw. So that's how I get to the point. You also get to a point where you just cannot physically get the needle in anymore. So, I mean,
it sounds like you're literally working into a solid pebble,
yeah.
trying actually
it
to get
starts
this
off
in there.
beautifully soft and it ends up rock solid.
So, we've been talking about the collection and Pebbles and building it up. What is it about Pebbles? Because when I classically think about a pebble, I think of something that is very smooth, that's been weathered. And of course, when we look at your Pebbles collection, there's a lot of texture. Of course, you mentioned earlier that you've got your love of a texture, and nothing's ever textured enough. What's your relationship between a smooth pebble and your creation? Is it the
I
shape?
think the pebble part of it is mainly the silver work. So the completely unique, organic little pebbly shape, that it's almost used the silver work as a frame. So that's my kind of pebble worked frame. Then also, when you're 3-dimensional, I'll show you the necklace sideways, you do actually have that pebble shape again. The colors and the patterns aren't necessarily from pebbles, they're from all over nature, but actually stones are beautiful, and especially if you put water on them, and you get a real shock when these different patterns and colors suddenly emerge out of what looked like a dusty matte gray surface. So I thought that gave me the freedom to be able to, give them a boost in the color direction. And I think the texture is just something that is part of me. It's part of my technique. Every piece you see in my collection will have this textured surface. So I think that's just an artistic freedom of being me and working in the way that I do.
I think actually when I look at your pebble collection, obviously with the beads, it almost looks like, we've got the pebble and then you've got the different coloured grains of sand. Because
Yeah.
and so it really feels that, if you were to rub your fingers, over the top, it would be like a sand.
These ones were one
Feel.
of the first pair I made, and their colour is just so aqua and watery. They look like they're wet to me. They got drips and the watery colours, and then the pebble shape on the outside. But then it completely changes. Using the same technique gave me a totally different shape, and then using the different colours, and I've suddenly got something that reminds me of honey. So, every piece I feel needs to be read by the person who wants to wear it, and it will bring up their imagery of it. I like to say that my jewellery can remind a person of somewhere they love in the outdoor world, even when they're indoors. So like if you love a certain beach or a certain pond or a certain woodland, wear a bit of it with you. have a piece of jewellery that just reminds you and triggers a happy memory that happens in that place, or a smell that makes you rain. Like, you know, everybody says they love the smell of rain. Something that is personal to you. So from the outside, your viewer may just see it as a pair of beautiful blue earrings that go nicely with your dress. Brilliant, that's fine. But to you, it just makes you think, oh, that holiday back in 2006 where we lay on the beach and had those wonderful cocktails. Just a little memory trigger.
I think that's wonderful, because I think when you purchase something, especially as jewelry, as many of us do, it's a very personal thing to buy. So I think to actually then, you know, hope that people evoke memories and associate that, I think it's a lovely way to have in your head, you know, as you start, you know, creating. I mean, you know, with those words in mind, you know, is it ever hard, you know, to give a piece away? I mean,
it is. It's a bit of a catch-22. Obviously, everything you make as a jeweler because you want to be seen and you want to sell it and you want people to appreciate it. But at the same time, when you do something really special, you're like, oh God, the time and effort. But the best thing is if you're privileged enough to get to speak to the person who's bought it, say when you are at the shows or in a chat room, and they say to you, that's the perfect piece for so-and-so occasion, or God, that really reminds me of this, or I wanted this for my birthday because I love the colors for this reason. And then you can think to yourself, it's gone to the right home. They are my little babies. They aren't sold. They go to new homes. And they go to new homes where they're going to be appreciated by people who are going to take them out in the world on their different adventures, should I say. So that's how I cope with it anyway.
Oh, it's lovely, because we are now just drawing a close to our chat, but that's a lovely way to end, you know, by kind of saying that you're so happy for pieces, you know, to go away and to find, you know, new homes. It's wonderful to, you know, to be able to share, and but, you know, especially for our makers, you know, just like you, to actually create and then share. I think that's really special. You know, to give. Well, Dani, you know, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and
Oh,
letting us,
thank you for
you
having
know,
me.
come into your studio. It's been really lovely to see you. So I want to say a big thank you, you know, for letting us come in, and to kind of have a route around your new collection. So thank you so
Cheers.
much. And for everyone who's joining us, and has joined us throughout the talk, thank you so much for joining. You've been watching Dani Crompton and her talk through her new collection, Pebbles, which you can find over at Handmade Oxford Online, the interactive virtual craft fair, over on interact.handmadeinbritain.co.uk. So from the Handmade in Britain team and from Dani, thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you soon. Bye bye now.